You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the 6th part of What If Naruto Enters Elder Scrolls series. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Outside the shop. Naruto whistled a jaunty tune as he walked along the streets of Solitude heading for the dungeons to check on things there. Along the way he noticed a priest of Arche dragging around Beiran's body towards the Hall of the Dead. I killed him 2 hours ago. How are they just now moving him? I didn't even hide the body. Naruto questioned before deciding he should really step up the guard standards here. Because seriously that was pathetic. As he walked he did have his thoughts turn to Tamriel's god of life and death. He felt he'd have an odd relationship with Arche given his particular relationship with the Shinigami. It could be friendly given he by extension helps out Arche's job, or instead it could be an affront that another god is interfering in his domain. Regardless of this he continued on as he had a prison to inspect. Castle Dower Basement. Naruto walked into the Legion outpost in the hold where he saw 2 people standing at a table in Legion armor looking over a map. One was a male Imperial in a rather decorated Legion armor while the other was a blonde Nord woman in heavy Imperial armor. Naruto examined the map and gave them some intel on Stormcloak locations he got from scouts he had killed, at least one always having a base or 2 marked on a map. This information will be of great help my soon-to-be king, the female legate said as she had to admit it was rare to see a royal, even the Dragonborn, be so skilled in strategy. Easy, legate. He isn't king yet. The general told his subordinate with a firm tone. He didn't really have any reason to trust Naruto even if he gave him info to combat Ulfric. Well, he won me over, he can fight alongside me any day. He can strategize, and he's not a pushover. The legate said as she could tell a warrior when she saw one, but Naruto was more like a soldier, something she could respect and appreciate in a ruler. One who would be willing to fight alongside his troops on the battlefield himself if he were given the chance to lead an army. I swear you Nords only ever think of combat, Tullius said. Nothing wrong with that, they both said at the same time. Naruto, while one of peace preferably, was also one who could respect warriors and their spirits. Besides, he had his own war going on. The sooner the civil war ended, then the sooner his attention could turn towards Alduin once he had enough power. Anyways, I shall leave you 2 to your work. I have to take a little tour of the dungeons below, Naruto told the general and legate before heading down the stairs nearby. Immediately as soon as he walked down, however, he saw what was clearly a prisoner in rags running towards him with a bloody sword out. Out of the DMN way. The man yelled, trying to rush past Naruto. Naruto kindly responded by punching out the man with a fast right hook, clocking the running prisoner in his temple and sending him sprawling to the floor. I really have my work cut out for me if you guys can't keep people locked up. Naruto said as this was just sad. I wonder if it's this easy with the Stormcloaks, he thought, wondering how bad both sides had to be for this to happen. Sorry, Your Majesty. Executioner Otter claimed he was harmless and could be freed. As soon as he was freed, however, he stabbed Olga with her own blade, a guard said as he and another went to grab the prisoner. Is this Olga okay? Naruto asked. Just a flesh wound, Your Majesty. I'll be fine. A guard hobbled over, clearly bleeding from her stomach, onto the floor and holding the wound with her hand. Naruto, seeing this, used healing hands, having spent enough time with Tsunade to cast it moderately well. Not on her level, but he could heal grievous wounds with enough of his magicka. That should help you. If you need to, though, head for the barracks for rest. Maybe hit the winking skeever for some mead. Naruto told the guard before turning to the other two, "You two escort this prisoner back to his DMN cell. I'm gonna have a word with this executioner otter," Naruto said seriously as he walked down the stairs further into the dungeon. Naruto walked down to see a few prisoners in rags locked in cells being watched by guards. However, he saw a red guard man wearing executioner's armor with a massive axe on his back. "Executioner otter, I assume?" Naruto asked, making his presence known to all the guards and the executioner. The red guard man nodded to the soon-to-be king. "Yes, I'm Otter, sir," the man said. "I wish to see and inspect your post and men. Wanted to make sure things were going well down here. After all, if our dungeon isn't secure, we're all doomed in the hold. And to my surprise, do you know what I find the second I take a step down here?" Naruto asked the executioner with a glare. No sir." "What did you find?" Otter asked, confused. "Oh, nothing except a goddamned prisoner freed on your orders that apparently stabbed one of the guards with their own weapon after being freed." Naruto yelled with a glare at the executioner. "Oh. My bad." Otter said, phrasing it more like a question as he was terrified of what would happen at this point. "Get the hell out of the dungeons immediately and hand over your axe." "You're relieved of your post," Naruto told him seriously. "But what will I do for work and food?" the red guard man asked. "I don't care what you do. Travel as an adventurer, become a bard, wear yourself out. I don't care, but I want you out of my dungeons immediately." Naruto told him, glaring at the man and flaring his more animalistic power and nature. The red guard man stiffened up a moment, however, rather than back away running like most would, he glared back at the soon-to-be king. "Make me leave my dungeons, whelp. You aren't king yet." Otter told him with a glare. Naruto glared before he gestured to the axe on his back. "If you want to do this, then you should know you'll be in a world of hurt. So either draw your axe or raise your fists, cause if you don't hand that axe over I will beat you within an inch of your life or I will kill you," Naruto told him. The red guard bravely stupidly rose his axe and brought it down toward Naruto, but to his utter shock Naruto caught it with his bare hand and the blade began to crack as he squeezed. "I'll have to get my new headsman a stronger axe after this, it seems," Naruto said boredly before he squeezed his hand around the blade and crushed it into dust. Otter's eyes widened at this display, but before he could convey his shock with words he found himself punched in the face with a right cross, sending him into a set of iron bars face first. Looking in to see a prisoner in rags laughing at the former headsman. "I'll give you a chance to run, or next time I won't be so gentle," Naruto said to him as he saw the man shake in terror. Fluids leaking out of him. "I feel so sorry for the janitor here that will need to clean up that," Naruto said, unimpressed by the former headsman. "Go on, flee or die." "Your choice," Naruto told Otter as the guard crawled away before running in terror, his fear and shame something everyone could smell. "Alright, well. That was productive. I'll speak with Elisif to find a new headsman for the castle," Naruto told the guards in the dungeons before he walked back up the stairs and exited the castle. Outside in solitude. Where to next? Naruto mused, walking through the hold before seeing a rather eloquent clothing shop called Radiant Raiment. I suppose I should get a few noble outfits for when I'm king, Naruto thought aloud. Naruto walked in and saw two female high elves working the counter. He saw they recognized who he was. "Oh, your highness. We were not expecting someone of your stature to be dressed so awfully," one of the sisters named Endari said. "Trying to make a sale?" Naruto thought, knowing they were aiming for where they could poke holes in someone's confidence. "They are arrogant," he thought as he knew they knew who he was, as after the Thalmor embassy incident he was well known to all high elves. Naruto agreed to wear their clothes as the girls, while Kaki were good at their craft. He then left as he was one to keep his word, but he did send a message to someone the moment he went outside. Few minutes later. "I can't believe that human is the one that tamed the feared Elenwen. Terry. I can't believe how normal and bland he was just doing what we asked him." Endari giggled superiorly. The two sisters laughed and smiled at their future success and fortune. The two sisters heard someone enter and went to see who it was, and to their shock, it was Elenwen herself. Surprised to see me? Elenwen said with a smile, I had received word from my MSTR, that 2 upstart bees were giving him lip, she said approaching the counter and walked behind it. USLTS. Elenwen said seeing the high elf shake in terror from her presence, you two thought you could talk the way you did to my MSTR and get away with it, get on your knees, she said seeing them bow their heads in fear. You two will be punished for this disgrace and you'll pay for it with your lives and your bodies, she said deadly serious as they were property and now would spend their lives serving Naruto, but before that they needed to be punished. My MSTR does have an eye, you two do have skill and it will serve him and his women well, she said thinking it'd be nice to have women who could make her and the others refined clothing. We will never submit. Endari said as she and her sister stood back up. She was clearly trying to act defiantly. Her quivering knees however revealed her true fright. Oh, you two most definitely will. My MSTR will do as he pleases to you two when he returns from your foolish errand. But until then I shall punish you both in his name. Elenwen told the 2 sisters with a haughty smirk. Both sisters saw their ambassador's eyes glow and saw her hands gain claws, both of them trembled in fear as she slashed off their clothes. Cutting the once noble and appealing clothing they wore into ribbons within seconds. On your knees. Refuse and your punishment will be much worse. Elenwen said seeing them tremble even more as they quickly fell to their knees once more, smartest decision you've made all day, time to teach your dirty were mouths when it's time to open them, she said as she strppd down out of her clothing and approached the 2 sisters. With Naruto. 20 minutes later. Naruto walked through the streets once more of solitude after showing Elisif and the court the noble wear of the 2 sisters' creation. Elisif and the court seemed pleased with the outfit due to its regal look and feel though he could tell Elisif, Sybil, and the Thane Bryling would have preferred him out of the outfit truthfully. Naruto walked back to the sisters' shop and saw Elenwen disciplining them. How goes it? He asked seeing their asses were red, their pussies gushing out juices, and their arms bound behind their back by swathes of their own fabric as they were bent over their own store counter. Elenwen behind them with a writing CRP in her hands. They know their place my MSTR. Isn't that right you wears? Elenwen asked before slapping the writing CRP into Terry's red as she truly loved enforcing and abusing her power over her people and others in general really. The fact that it was in the name of her MSTR was all the more sweeter. I see. And what do my new wares have to say for themselves? Naruto asked aloud as he walked around the counter to face the 2 NDE and bound Altmers. We are sorry MSTR, we thought we could use you and did not think much of your power, please accept our humblest apologies. Let us repay you with our bodies. They are yours to use as you see fit. We hope to receive your forgiveness. Endari exclaimed before yelping as Elenwen slapped her peach with her writing CRP once more. Well said you little bee. Elenwen said with a smile. You certainly work fast. Naruto said to her, impressed by how fast she broke them. They were easy to break, MSTR. They put up no resistance since I arrived. I believe one of those useless barred SLTS at the college would have resisted more than these 2 did, Elenwen said, isn't that right SLT? Elenwen asked smacking Terry's fat, red peach with her writing CRP. Terry's only reply was a lewd and RTC MMM. They will be SLTS in your castle MSTR. Making clothes for you and especially your many wares. Elenwen said as she was going to put them to work, this shop will close and they will move immediately, they are basically no one, she said as she was sure no one would miss the sisters when they were gone the next day. I see. Well done Elenwen. A shame about the shop closing but I suppose I can put something else here to make some extra income, Naruto said with a smirk before he undid his armor and let it fall to the floor. His heart irked in the faces of the 2 sisters. Elenwen seeing her MSTR in his NDE state as it was as impressive as the mightiest of dragons. A true dragon bone some of a more vulgar reputation would say. If the quivering womanhoods of the 2 bound Altmare were anything to go by they would agree with that sentiment as they caught sight of his massive B-breaker. Naruto placed his PP in between the faces of the 2 sisters and looked down at them. You two had such big and loud mouths before. Why don't you two put them to actual use for something, Naruto ordered. Elenwen watched feeling pleased to see her MSTR's newest wares fulfilling on their many duties as they ate his PP, she saw how they blushed and from the taste alone. The two once proud and arrogant Altmare women now reduced to slobbering wares for their new MSTR. The two sisters ate and drooled over the Dragonborn's pages. Their pussies gushing juices all over their once reputable business counter. Naruto smirked down at the two sisters, enjoying the sight of how they went from haughty and superior to worthless C-sleeves. And all within a half hour of speaking to them. Naruto waved his hand over and brought Elenwen close and claimed her lips with his own, making the ambassador blush like a freshly married bride. She felt her MSTR's tongue invade her mouth, dominating it as thoroughly as he had in bed. She quivered at his touch. Her own quim moistened as his tongue wrapped around her own. Are you going to turn these girls MSTR? Elenwen asked, as despite their beatitudes they would make fine SEC slaves to her MSTR and she liked having authority over some of her MSTR's women. No, you broke them, so you may turn them yourself. I'll give you that honor. Naruto said. They won't be as strong. Elenwen pointed out as her MSTR's bite and BLD made his women truly superior. If his women bit anyone the woman bit would gain only a sliver of his true strength. Do you honestly see them being strong enough to be useful for combat? Naruto asked his ambassador. Elenwen conceded, as these two were only good for being wares to her MSTR. If they had a sliver of combat prowess I would turn them, my dear, but they are clothing makers. I feel like you deserve to turn them as a gift for your loyalty, Naruto told the Thalmor woman. Elenwen smiled as she bit both of them on the neck and smiled seeing them change. Listen well, SLTS, you are even lower than our MSTR's girls, you have been bitten by one of his women, meaning you are toys to the ones that were bitten by him, she said with a smile as she saw both women quivering even more as they changed. You belong to me, but if I'm not around, Elenwen and my other women shall be your keepers. You will listen and obey their every order, no matter how demeaning and depraved it is. Do you two understand? Naruto asked the two sisters with a wicked grin. Both women saw the predatory gaze in both Naruto and Elenwen, and in that moment they both knew they would be forever serving Naruto and his women. Being tools for their pleasure for eternity. That was their new purpose. Naruto walked around the counter to face the two women's red asses and rubbed his hardened PP along their sore ass cheeks, making the two and shiver in pain and pleasure from this action. Naruto smirked at this before he went behind Andari and without a single word suddenly slammed his PP into her gushing CNT, making the Altmare SLT beneath him squeal from this action. Elenwen meanwhile decided to give Terry some attention, making sure the sister wasn't left out as she grabbed Terry by her golden locks and forced her head in between her legs, making Terry eat her out as she watched her MSTR F the other sister into a mewling mess. Let out your MMSLT. Let them out for your MSTR. Naruto ordered Andari as he hammered into her TWT. Elenwen heard Andari scream at the top of her lungs the music of Naruto's SLTS, she thought, wondering if barred women could ever hit this high a note. Well, given the barred wares Naruto owns, that was probably a common occurrence. How's the other SLT's tongue, Elenwen? Naruto asked the Thalmor ambassador with a smirk. She needs work, I'm sure she'll have plenty of time to practice in the future MSTR. Elenwen said, having no doubts as she made sure the sister underneath her could barely get any air and her only focus was to lick her pages. How is the other one? Is she pleasing you well enough, MSTR? Elenwen asked back, hoping that his new pet was at least pleasing to use. Her sopping CNT is tight. I'd have assumed she was a version with how tight she is. However, I think this where will need to learn how to move her body. Right now she's just letting me do all the work. Naruto responded. Elenwen sent Andari a glare as she didn't expect much from the sisters, but she wanted slaves that knew and could please them. I apologize, MSTR, I'll punish her thoroughly for her failures. Elenwen said angrily as she fully intended to punish Andari in so many ways that today would seem like a slap on the wrist. She would make her commit every lewd act she could and train her night and day, not caring when the bee slept, and would only be satisfied if she could please her MSTR. Naruto, despite having to do all the work and thrusting with Endari, did finally feel his release coming. Without a word he hilted himself fully in the mewling and squealing altmare woman and fired his thick load into her WMB. Filling the woman to the brim with his white, hot, seed. Endari felt his seed invading her WMB, feeling his seed reach every part of her. What if I get PRGNT? She asked no one in particular. Then be honored to raise our MSTR's child. It's why you exist. Elenwen told Endari with a firm tone and a glare. She was already not happy with Endari's lack of movement with their MSTR. If she complained about getting PRGN, she'd probably slap the taste out of the juice-filled woman's mouth. Naruto decided to not be gentle and take her peach, making her scream and making the leak inside her WMB slosh around as Naruto rammed and slammed against her rippling peach. Elenwen smiled hearing her as she knew she'd be hearing them a lot more later on when she trained the sisters. Time to start a new lesson in peach kissing bee. She said, burying her peach in Terry's face, making her eat out her peach. As the ambassador made Terry pleasure her, Naruto was hammering away at Endari's peach as she and squealed from each harsh move. Her eyes rolling up into the back of her head as her new MSTR used her body like a pleasure toy. Unable to even move due to the intense F she was receiving. We really need to have you get trained to actually move when getting F, Naruto told the mewling Endari. Elenwen was starting to question the current standards of elves these days. Making a note to personally punish and train Endari since at least her sister was good at following orders. 7 hours later. Elenwen was exhausted and covered in many bodily fluids. She looked at the two elven sisters and saw they were passed out twitching in pleasure as Naruto did in fact break them. I apologize for the failure of Endari pleasuring you, my MSTR, she said with a small bow. I shall personally see to it that she is trained, she said as she fully intended to have both sisters please her at the embassy. It's alright, Elenwen. At least Terry proved herself capable. Regardless, I shall leave you to their training. Naruto said as he put his armor back on. What will you do now, my lord? Elenwen asked. This place needs some better, everything. I have a busy schedule and have to make a few more appearances as soon to be king. Naruto said as politics sucked no matter what world. I see. What is your next stop? Elenwen asked curiously. Seeing as it's nearly night and most of the shops have closed, I'll be heading towards the tavern to make sure things are well there. Seeing as it doubles as an inn, if it isn't a welcoming sight, then our hold will never receive travelers that stay there, meaning less money for the hold as a whole. Naruto explained. Elenwen had to admit he made strong points, as while this city looked pleasing to the eye, it was a ruse to maintain an image. The war itself also had a hand in such things, as most that lived and helped fix up said hold were most likely out at imperial camps fighting off stormcloaks. I shall call you again if I need you, Elenwen. In the meantime, enjoy training your new students, Naruto told her before he left the clothing store and headed for the Winking Skeever Tavern. 10 minutes later. At least the bard is pleasant. Naruto thought, as the voice of the bard in this hold was rather pleasing, as he had the privilege of hearing a certain bard in Whiterun. Tsunade would love this place, he thought, as the beer and song were good, there was gambling, and no one gave a f who you were here. The fact the bard also had a nice rack probably also helped, but maybe that was just his bias. Thank you for coming, folks. Would anyone like to make a request? The Breton bard by the name of Lizette asked the gathered people drinking away. Just play something and let me drink, the unmistakable voice, to Naruto at least, of Otter said as he threw back mug after mug of ale. Desperately trying to get drunk after Naruto fired him earlier. Our hero claims a warrior's heart. Lizette began to sing. Naruto chuckled at the irony of hearing this song everyone knows. The dragons are back, he thought, as it was basically a fact people knew dragons were back. Not only that, each hold already knew him as the Dragonborn, especially after word had gotten out about his relationship with Elisif. I'll need to deal with Aljuin soon. And then there's also Miraak, Naruto thought, knowing he needed to claim more weapons, spells, and words of power before he went after either of them. If he went unprepared then he'd surely die. Right now though, other than the dragons Alduin was reviving, neither were overt threats though that could change soon. Otter, don't you think you've had enough? A female voice asked from across the drinking Redguard's table. Naruto looked and saw his ex-executioner sitting across from an appealing Nord woman wearing a green dress with long blonde hair. He's still in town. Naruto thought, wondering if he was losing his edge or if the man was dumber than he appeared to be. I'll drink till I'm dead, Aela. I don't have a DMN job anymore, remember? I have nothing worth living for. Otter said despondently and angrily. You mean besides your girlfriend sitting across from you? Aela said with a glare at that comment. Leave me alone, that man was something else. Otter said. On that we agree. Aela said as she smiled rather lewdly. I mean, you can just tell he's not like anyone else. I wonder if all Dragonborns are like him, and the stories I hear are rather detailed, she said as the tales of him beating women were sung with pure bliss. I don't want to hear any of them. Otter said, throwing back some more ale. A shame. Why, from what I've heard of him, if you were to come in here and take me on a table before everyone in this tavern, I wouldn't say no. Aela said, hoping that maybe her boyfriend would have a reaction to her comment. Only to see no response other than him drinking his sorrows away. You and so many other women, lady. Naruto thought as he had screwed the senses off many women who worked in bars and inns. Be they bards, patrons, random travelers, mothers, daughters, sisters, he had plowed so many wherever he went. I still can't believe that BSTRD is gonna be king. Otter said, irritated and upset from having been fired. That BSTRD is the Dragonborn, not many can find a reason to complain. Aela pointed out as she heard people at the docks and travelers from other holds that came here in passing. The Dragonborn was the best candidate and people believed him to be a Nord, so that shut up Ulfric's men, and he was marrying the current queen. Faye. Nordic nonsense. You know what I'd do to him if the so-called Dragonborn was here right now? Otter asked bitterly, not noticing Naruto behind him looking at him, but Aela did, and she had so many reactions from his presence. Otter? Aela was saying, trying to warn him, but Otter cut her off. I'd bash his DMN face in. Till he's a broken mess on the floor. Crying and bleeding, Otter SSID taking another swig of ale. You can give it a shot. Hell, I'll give you a free hit, Naruto said as Otter fell down and saw Naruto, but his drunken state seemed to give him courage, or more stupidity, so he took a swing at Naruto's face. And to his astonishment he made the man's nose bleed. Not bad. Naruto said, swiping the BLD away before sending his own punch to his face, sending the former executioner crashing into a wall. I'll pay for damages. Naruto said to the inn owner Corpulus Vinius before his attention turned to Aela. So him and you are a thing? How the hell did he manage that? Naruto asked. He's an idiot, but he takes the edge off in bed. Aela said as there were little date options here as most of the men were idiots. I see. And how about your comment on if I wanted to take you in front of the patrons of this bar here and now? Naruto asked the Nord woman, amused. Aela blushed as she wasn't opposed to the idea, as in all honesty she had a thing for strong men, and given he just sent her boyfriend flying with one punch, she was very eager and willing to drop her panties and spread herself. You know there are children present, right? Corpulus asked, gesturing to his young daughter Minette. Perhaps we should have this discussion in another area. Say my room? Naruto asked with a smirk to Aela as he tossed the innkeeper 10 gold for a room without even looking away from Aela. Aela followed him as if she was in a hypnotic trance or under a spell, his very presence was so commanding. Gotta admit he's smooth. Corpulus' eldest son Sorex was heard saying as Naruto led her away. Lizette meanwhile watched this occur as she stopped strumming her lute once Naruto punched out Otter. She immediately trailed after the two, as Lizette, as any bard, knew how praiseworthy the Dragonborn was, as in the Bard College the song of the Dragonborn carried more weight than listeners to the song knew. When she arrived at the door to Naruto's room, she placed her ear against the door only to hear the sounds of slurping and gagging as soon as she listened in. GRK. MMPH. Various sounds came from behind the door, echoing like a symphony of eroticism from the other side. However, the sounds also greatly turned the barred woman on from hearing them. Her pee-pee moistened from beneath her dress as each sound made her wetter and wetter. Rather bold of you to give me such an open invitation. What was it you said? If I took you on a table you wouldn't say no? Naruto asked her teasingly to his former executioner's now ex-girlfriend. Aela didn't speak. She was far too enraptured with eating on the Dragonborn's glorious pages. Her tongue swirled around his D-head as drool seeped from her mouth to the floor. Naruto smirked down at the Nord woman who was very hungry for his pee-pee, wanting to drink his seed. You are gonna get your wish for an audience SLT. Someone is watching us, he said, tossing a dagger at the door's lock, causing it to open, and in fell Lizette. As the Breton woman looked up from the floor at the two, Aela blushed brightly as Naruto knew how to treat her, as he was making her eat her own words. Treating her like a tool for his pleasure. I apologize, Sir Dragonborn, I only wanted to witness the legend. Lizette stuttered a bit. It was one thing to hear them go at it, but it was another thing to fully see it happen before her eyes. I understand the wish to witness glory, however you decided to spy on your future king, which could be considered a crime. However, I'm sure we can work out some way for you to atone, Naruto said with a smirk at the Breton bard. Lizette was not dumb, and she wasn't about to waste an opportunity such as this, as girls had always been told about the wildness of the Dragonborn's skill in bed. Be they of past Dragonborns or the current one before her, there was not a single Dragonborn known that couldn't pleasure hordes of women into mind-broken stupors. Why don't we put your mouth to work for something other than singing? Naruto told the Breton bard with a smirk. Lizette got on her knees as she was next to Aela. Seeing her friend was not releasing his pee-pee from her mouth, she began kissing and eating his glorious ball, feeling their weight and how full they are. DMN. You two really know how to work a pee-pee, huh? Naruto asked the two women with a grin as he grabbed the two by the back of their heads and held them against his pee-pee and ball. Both women breathed in his musk, and it was incredibly manly as it smelt of BLD, sweat, and hard work. A pee-pee of a real warrior and leader. So enraptured by the smell and taste of Naruto's pee-pee, they could swear they were having visions of the things he'd done to every single woman he ever came across. The face F, the CNT breaking, the peach tearing. Every single thing they could envision played out in their minds as they worked his wondrous bard SLT on the bed. Naruto said, seeing her stand up and ripped off her dress, seeing her blush like a maiden, but saw Aela had a predatory look in her gaze. She is a hungry SLT, he thought, giving her a bite and changing her into a hybrid like himself. Aela felt her MSTR's power run through her and looked down to Lizette, who was wide-eyed at what she witnessed. She's prey, she thought, as she was her MSTR's prey and would please him. VV vampire? Lizette exclaimed, wide-eyed, not expecting that. No, we're so much more, Aela bite her. Naruto said, not seeing the point in him biting her. Lizette MMM as Aela claimed her lips before biting her neck, and her body felt like it was on fire. Both women felt their animal instincts scream at them. Something primal awakening in them with a furious roar and growl. The two women gazed at their lord, nay, their MSTR, with hearts in their eyes as they gazed upon his majesty. Lizette MMM as she felt her MSTR move into her forcibly, but her PP was eager to greet his, and it was incredible. No other man had ever been as large or strong with her. With each move of his mighty PP she felt as if Naruto would throw her across the room into the wall. Or slam her through the bed itself and then the floor. Aela smiled, licking her lips, seeing her MSTR claim Lizette. Does he do this to all his women? She thought, licking her lips, feeling her PP burn with anticipation, wanting to see the women who served him submitting to him. Oh God! Lizette screamed as she suddenly orgasmed on his pages. Her juices spraying from her CNT onto his chiseled chest. I'll admit I know most bards are easy SLTS, but I was expecting more than just a few thrusts before you immediately came your brains out, Naruto told Lizette. Bards never get section. Aela said, as most bards were either idiots or didn't get action, given they always wanted money. Tell that to the other bards I've F for a few coins. One literally sold herself to me for a single coin. Naruto told Aela as he continued thrusting into the mewling and squealing bard beneath him, although there may be some truth to that, he thought remembering a certain bard that harassed a certain MLF who had a daughter in Whiterun, who he may or may not have threatened so bad that he may now play for the other team. The male bards usually don't get any attention. We F female bards however bodies for coin ni 9 times out of 10 inch Lizette stuttered out. See that I believe and I own you now don't I my little bard, I bet I'll have you screaming for me. Naruto said knowing she will be singing his praises in more ways than one. I won't submit easy, oh god. Lizette was saying but was cut off from the feeling of Naruto's PP slamming into her most sensitive spot once more making her instantly leak again from a single move. Won't submit easily. I feel like you've already given in. You're just too stubborn to admit it. Naruto said with a smirk. Aela had to agree, this bee was property now just like her. The thought and realization that her future king owned her body to do with as he pleased turned Aela on even more. Her PP gushing wet at the realization. I see that the Nord SLT wants her turn so why don't we play a little game, my bardic SLT. Let's see how many times you leak before I leak once. If you can manage to not black out you'll get a prize, Naruto said with a smirk as he thrust it into her. The answer was 56, Lizette climaxed a total of 56 times before Naruto released his massive load both in and on her. The bed was so wet with her juices it was soaked to its foundation, not an area of dryness to be found. Well she blacked out too. I'll just let her rest, Naruto said with a smirk before he turned to Aela. The Nord woman was struggling hard not to injure herself having witnessed Naruto's intense F of Lizette. Naruto immediately approached her and pushed the Nord woman against the wall of the room, bending her over so he was positioned behind her. With her eye saw how many times she leaked before she blacked out. But you're a strong Nord woman right? Let's see if I can F you through the wall, Naruto grinned before slamming his PP into her gushing CNT. With Otter. After having been fired, getting embarrassed in front of his girlfriend, knocked out by the future king, and sent through a wall with a single punch, the Red Guard man was finally up once more. When he came to, he asked Corpulus where Aela was. The response he got. Getting F by the man who punched his lights out. Furious and embarrassed, the Red Guard man stomped his way up the steps to confront his tormentor once more. Just as he got to the room however before he could enter the slightly open door. Crash. A hole in the wall literally broke open as Aela's head suddenly crashed through the wall. Her face contorted into a face of pure carnal pleasure and bliss sounds of flesh pending into flesh sounded from the other side. Ah. Yes. F me my lord. F my where body all the way through the wall. Aela begged with wanton of pleasure before she saw her ex-boyfriend standing in front of her. Daddy the beta male's awake, Aela said with her tongue hanging out of her mouth. I'll deal with him later, Naruto was heard from the hole in the wall followed by a loud slap as Aela loudly from what sounded like a hard slap to her peach. Naruto's head poked through as Aela's head went down whole. He sent a smile to Otter smiles normally reserved for his women, but this man was shocked and looking at him in both fear and a broken mind unable to comprehend how Naruto was able to claim his women being the alpha that he was. She's mine now. I own her. Her fat peach, her big jugs, her salty body. I want it all. So what are you gonna do about it, B? Naruto asked his former executioner with his smile. Otter felt unbridled rage flow from his being. Otter was saying on repeat as if his brain short-circuited. Look, I'm sure I could stand here and wait for you to form a sentence with the 10 words you seem to actually know, but I have a dumb SLT to break in. So do me a favor, either get the hell out of my hold or try something, Naruto said. Otter charged at the door and opened it to attack Naruto. The second he entered however he froze as a burst of speed hit him and all he could feel was pain and his breath leaving his body. He looked down and saw Aela who had a hand in his chest. Goodbye, whatever your name was. Aela said as Naruto had been F her so well she couldn't think of any other man than him. before she ripped his heart from his chest. Immediately after she dropped the organ to the floor, she returned to her lord, intent on getting more and more brutally by him. "Oh, you are just a treat," Naruto said with a smirk before he grabbed her and pushed her spine first against the wall to return to her stupid. Otter, unfortunately or fortunately depending on who was asked, had a clear view of the sight of his Naruto his ex, and before he bled out from the wound Aela gave him, he let out a silent wail as Lizette began drinking from him as Naruto was busy Aela before his eyes closed forever. The next day, Naruto stood over Lizette as he leaked once more, sending a stream of juices on her fat tips as she laid down on the hardwood floor passed out and tongue hanging limply from her mouth. Aela meanwhile was slammed halfway through the wall to the room, ending up outside into the hallway as her CNT oozed his juices onto the floor. Her face marred with pleasure as her eyes were rolled up in the back of her head. Aela slid back into the room and fell to the floor before she saw the corpse of her ex and held no emotion, having no feeling for the man, include feeling her mstr walk over and start her tips once more. Well, this was fun. It always feels great to help out my subjects, Naruto said to the Nord woman with a smirk as he pended away at her jiggling jugs. This will be my last load for you as I need to go check on the Bard's College, Naruto told her. Aela smiled as if Lizette was anything to go by. All Bard women knew to worship the Dragonborn, and if they knew what good for them they'd eagerly spread their legs for the godly they'd receive. After Naruto left Aela a drooling mess, he gave her clear instructions to not be seen disposing of the corpse and leave it somewhere that someone from the Hall of the Dead would later collect before he left. Few minutes later, Naruto was bowed to by everyone he saw in the Bard College. He had seen much talent with the bards. Some however were looking for ways to gain his favor, a bit more devious than what he'd expect from a bard. However, as he traversed the halls he could have all the bards honestly complaining about some rather mundane issues. Mostly about missing instruments for a music class. Naruto didn't need to look around or ask many questions. He found his answers at the most recent instrument taken, a necromancer. He thought as in his studies he heard there were ways to use music in restoration, but necromancy and restoration were two halves of the same coin. Could a necromancer have found such old magic? "Excuse me, do you know whose flute was taken?" Naruto asked the gossiping bards curiously. "Oh, your majesty, I didn't see you there. The flute in the most recent theft belongs to Lady Atia. I believe she is with Ildi and Aia having them practice vocals in her classroom," the bard said with a bow. Naruto went to find the owner of the flute and saw the small group of women. While attractive and talented, he felt their talents could be better used somewhere else, but first the necromancer, he thought to himself, needing to deal with his kingdom's threat and wanted to really punish Alyssa for having such poor control of the hold and guards. Perhaps a rough spanking with the flat of an axe would set her straight. He shook his head. Lewd thoughts later, murdering a necromancer came first. "Cease your practice, girls. We have a visitor," Auntie Atia said, getting her two female students to stop their practice. "Your Highness, it is an honor to have you here. What can we bards do for you?" she asked with a bow copied by her two students. "I have been checking on various places within the hold to see how things are going," Naruto said. "Well, despite recent events we bards are doing well, although some are better than others," Atia said, subtly looking at Aia with a smile before frowning at Ildi as she recomposed herself. Naruto could see there were hostilities between them, but ignored them as he didn't care. "I see. I did hear that you had to cancel a few trips to perform due to the ongoing civil war, so it makes sense. However, I heard a bit of gossip about some missing instruments. Perhaps you can tell me about that?" Naruto asked the teacher, who scowled at the question. "Ah, that. A former student named Larina apparently sold off several instruments to a necromancer. Including my personal flute, having claimed they were powerful instruments that could make the dead dance," Atia told the Dragonborn. "I see. Where is this Larina? Perhaps I can speak with her?" Naruto asked. I'm sorry to interrupt your Highness, however she's dead. She was found sneaking in a Stormcloak soldier about a week ago in an attempt on Elysif's life. The guards killed them both before they could make the attempt, however, Ildi said shyly towards the Dragonborn. She was clearly nervous to speak. A thief and a traitor. She had it coming, Aia said with a scoff. I see. Tell me, do you know where this necromancer is now? Naruto asked curiously. I believe he's in a place by Winterhold known as Hobs Fall Cave, Atia told the Dragonborn. I see. I do need to stop by Winterhold for something on my list anyways. Alright, I'll go and get your instruments back, Naruto said after absorbing this information. What? Are you sure, my lord? Atia asked, surprised he'd go himself and not send a guard or mercenary to do it. I prefer to handle things myself. Besides, a necromancer may be a bit beyond the average warrior. No, I'll handle this and bring your items back myself, Naruto said simply with a smile. We can discuss my reward when I return, Naruto said with a grin before he walked out of the college back towards the palace. He would let Elisif know where he was going for a few days, and he wanted to establish his teleportation circle for the Jarl's bedroom of the Blue Palace so he could easily return there. He'd be back as soon as these necromancers were dealt with. Hobs Fall Cave. I swear, necromancers. Enko thought to herself as being a vampire allowed her to understand life and death. After Naruto turned her into a werewolf, vampire hybrid like himself, she had to admit it was incredible. The animal instincts and her already strong bloodlust was often sated. So any ideas on how you want to kill the necromancers? I'm partial to killing the PP with their weapons. Naruto asked her, wondering how she wanted to handle these idiots. I wouldn't mind getting to drink some BLD or rip out their hearts for a snack. Enko said with a grin as she loved the new animal appetite she had as it made her even more ferocious. Understood. What about you, Yugao? Naruto asked the purple-haired Umbu. A sword to their chests, I'd cut them and pull my knife down, cutting each layer of skin and remove and cauterizing their non-essential organs upon removal. Yugao said as she hated people who desecrated the deceased. By Talos, that's hot. Enko exclaimed with a grin at her old friend. Very well. No matter what, we'll do this quick. Get in, kill them, get the instruments, get out, and then we'll head to Winterhold and get a drink before we head back to Solitude. Naruto ordered the two before the three entered the cave. As the three made their way through the icy caverns, they came upon their first enemy. A skeleton. Not an army of skeletons. Not a skeleton and a necromancer. Just a single skeleton holding a sword. This is their defense. I feel robbed. Enko sighed, expecting an army of necromancers and skeletons immediately in the cave. Allow me. Yugao said as she was more used to using weapons than magic, and even if she could, she would not waste her magic on such a weak enemy. Naruto and Enko felt the same way. Naruto drew Dawnbreaker and Enko pulled out an elven dagger, ready to storm the caves after Yugao dispatched the skeleton. Which she did with a simple flick of her wrist with a blade sword she was given by Delphine. The purple-haired Umbu using the katana to cut the skeleton's head from its neck. They proceeded further into the cave and saw a few more skeletons and a necromancer, but mostly skeletons. Okay, expectations are up, but not by much. Enko said to them as she rushed at the necromancer and plunged her dagger into the man's chest before he could react. I'll be taking your heart. Enko exclaimed with a grin as she cut open the necromancer to reach her hand into the man's chest hole to pry his heart out. Naruto watched as Yugao was able to slice the necks of the enemies clean and thoroughly. Nice one, Yugao. Enko said, watching her friend cut through three skeletons with a single sword swing. Anyone want a bite? Enko asked, holding up the heart of the necromancer to Yugao and Naruto. I'll bite you later. Naruto said as he was being serious, as in the passion of love he fed on his lovers. Heh. It's about time you leaked after me. Enko said with a smirk. What about you, Yugao? Wanna join me in bed with this stud later? She asked as three more skeletons entered the room, which Naruto turned to ash with a swing from Dawnbreaker. Yugao blushed as she knew what Naruto was like in bed, as she spied on him on occasion. He was not someone that could even be considered human with how he pleasured his women. Before Yugao could respond, a necromancer entered the room. "You never should have come here." The necromancer shouted as she went to cast Raise Dead on the fallen skeletons to attack the trio. Only to receive a bite on the neck from Anko as she drained the necromancer of their BLD. "Tastes bad, right?" Naruto asked, seeing her wince as he learned necromancers do things to their body making them taste weird. "Ugh. It tastes like ash and sulfur," Anko said as she wished she had something to remove the taste from her mouth. "Oh, one of those. Some PP like this sometimes rig their bodies to come back alive," Naruto said as some necromancers gained that power through training and going to the right stones for blessing. "Either way, I'm gonna need something to remove the taste. Say, brat, how's about you drop those pants and let Mama Anko get a taste of your PP?" Anko suggested with a smirk. "Must you try and mate while we're in a dungeon filled with the undead, Anko?" Yugao asked flatly. "You have to see this kid naked, he has a sword in his pants," Anko said, looking down at his pants, completely lacking shame. "I'm aware of how big he is, Anko. The issue is the time and place," Yugao said deadpan. "When did you see me naked?" Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow at Yugao. "When haven't we?" Anko said, winking at him. "No, you definitely have. You've had front row seats to me, Surana and Valerica. Yugao though hasn't, as far as I'm aware," Naruto said, looking at Naruto. "Your women scream," I became curious. Yugao said, blushing, keeping her answer short. "Ooh, she's been spying on you, huh? Maybe you should punish her, kid," Anko said with a grin. "She seems like she needs a spanking for being a bad girl," she cackled crazily. "Can we just finish this job?" Yugao asked, blushing atomic red. "Hold on, I have some really good oil I stole from the dwarves in a ruin," Naruto said as dwarves left a lot of the stuff lying around and he collected it for use. "Ooh, hear that, Yugao? You, me, and him all oiled up and shiny as he runs his fingers down your back and shoved them up your dash," Anko was saying with a smirk before Yugao cut her off. "Anko!" Yugao hissed, blushing even brighter red at the lewdness of her fellow purple-haired kunoichi. "Relax, Yugao. We can plan this out after we kill these idiots," Naruto said with a grin as the three went further into the cave. Some time later. Clearing out the rest of the necromancers and gathering the instruments was easy. The only threat was the so-called MSTR necromancer who was standing before the instruments in the final room. Naruto, however, tore his soul from his body with the soul tear shout he learned from Derniver on the occasions he summoned the death dragon. "I should give this to Valericia," he thought, thinking his lover that controlled the soul cairn would love to be able to make this soul put in a black soul gem suffer painfully. "Well, necromancers are dead, place is looted, and you got your instruments to get some sweet bard pages. What now, brat?" Anko asked with a smirk as she leaned on the table the necromancers had placed the instruments on, including Pantiatia's prized flute. "Well, I figured we're close to Winterhold. We can head there and stay at an inn before we head back to Solitude to drop these off," Naruto said as he gestured to the instruments. "You gonna ask that blonde bard if she ever stuck that flute up her PP to play a few notes when we get back?" Anko asked with a smirk as she caught Tayuya fingering herself with her own once. "Must you always be so vulgar?" Yugao asked as she cleaned her sword. "Keeps things interesting and honest," Anko said to her with a smirk. "Now about our reward for doing this for you, brat," Anko said with a smirk as she leaned forward on the table. She froze, feeling his power hit her. May wanna insult him less, she thought, needing to remind herself she was no longer top B, so to speak. This wasn't Konoha. In Skyrim, Naruto is the top dog around here. She was at best a B to be mounted by him. We'll discuss the reward at the inn. Unless you want to stay in this cold cave with a bunch of decrepit skeletons and foul-smelling necromancers, Naruto said with a firm tone. Anko nodded, seeing Naruto walk ahead. "I've never had a man talk down to me in such a way," she said to Yugao. "And?" Yugao asked with a raised eyebrow. "And I want him to throw me down on the ground and split my scienti open as I scream and howl like a bee for all the world to hear," Anko said with a shudder of pleasure. Yugao knew that was a likely scenario as each hold could probably hear Naruto with his women whenever he was in it. Especially given his women could also now shout like him just like Elisif could. 1 hour later Winterhold. Really think we should sell these if this is the kinda results the Bard College has. Enko said as she, Naruto, and Yugao were drinking and the Bard was truly terrible. Watch this. Yugao said holding a nut, she subtly threw it onto a wall and it bounced off and landed in the bad singing Bard's throat making him choke. Nice shot Yugao. Enko smirked watching the terrible Bard suffocate reminding herself to break his neck feed on his BLD, rip out his heart and leave his body for the animals. Thank you. A male elf in mage's robes sitting at a table going over some book said. He was annoyed by the noise as it prevented him from concentrating. Naruto took notice of this elf as he seemed to have an excess energy to him. Is that a Deidre? He thought to himself as he felt something similar to his encounters with Nocturnal or Meridia. Well, it's getting late. We should rent a room. Naruto said as he walked up to the counter. How much for a room? Naruto asked the man running the bar. A room for each of you, 15 gold total, the man behind the counter named Dagger said. We only need the one. Naruto said giving him 5 gold and took a key from the now envious man. Lucky BSTRD. Dagger grumbled before he was slapped by in the back of his head by his wife HAREM. Few minutes. After night descended upon the hold, Naruto, Enko, and Yugao retired to their room for the night. Enko smiled loving how small the bed was. We should get real close, she said grabbing Yugao's peach. After all it'll get cold. We need to share body heat, Enko grinned before she as Naruto's hands came up from behind her and reached around to grope her large knockers through her mesh shirt. Those SLTS were right. You do know how to work a pair of tips brat. Enko said with a smirk as he was firm and DMNT with his grip on her girls. Naruto growled a little at being called a brat by her again as his grip on her tips became even harsher from hearing her insults. Pawing and mauling at her melons roughly like a beast. Yugao saw and blushed in fear and excitement at seeing how DMNT he was being with Enko, a woman that was known for being wild and untamable. Naruto moved his hands from Enko's large melons to her peach and gave it a hard, rough smack. Enko loudly and blushed. She knew this man was the alpha predator. She was not able to act superior to him now or ever again. She was now his bee. She felt in her BLD, bones, and even her soul. You talk a big game but in reality you're an easy SLT Enko. Naruto asked with a smirk. I bet if I had this kind of power during the Chunin exams you'd have followed me into the forest of death to be my toy for 5 days straight, Naruto said with a smirk. If I knew your PP was this big back then I would have let you me after each victory, she admitted as she reached her hand behind her and rubbed it against his armored codpiece. Why don't you make up for lost time then and remove my armor for me? Yugao, since you've been silent why don't you help her out if he clothed? Naruto ordered the 2 women as Enko removed his armor. Yugao jolted upward in surprise as she knew she served Naruto being part of his group, but for him to blatantly command her to service him was demeaning, embarrassing, and hot. She removed all of Enko's remaining clothing. Now, should I bite you, make you a hybrid SLT for me to F? Naruto said to her, or maybe I'll keep you as is. Just leave you as a human F toy for me to plow over and over again. Naruto said with a smirk. Yugao was conflicted as she had seen the before and after of getting bit by him. If I do this, he'll own me, she thought as she belonged to him forever like the rest of his SLTS. It's your call but whether you turn or not you're probably not leaving this room without having gotten F by his hard, throbbing pages. Enko told her grinning. Yugao blushed as she brushed her hair back and exposed her neck and as he bit her neck, her eyes became orange. How's it feel Yugao? Enko asked her friend teasingly as to this day she felt an incredible pulse of pleasure rushing through her veins. Like I need to strp down and present myself to our one true god. Yugao said in a daze looking at Naruto as the power coursed through her body. Enko had to admit that was a pretty apt description of what she constantly felt. She watched as Yugao strppd and got on the small bed lying next to her. Now why don't you two beg to see who get my PP first? Naruto suggested as he loomed over the bed. His hardened PP on full display. My PP is the sheath to the sword that is your PP, take me with you MSTR wherever you go and you can stuff me whenever and however you wish. Yugao pleaded as she spread her PP lips apart with her fingers. No F my brains out first. You've wanted to F me since the Chunin exams right? Well use my sopping CNT to make up for lost time. Anko begged as she spread her PP lips as well. Naruto decided to punish Anko for earlier comments and decided to F Yugao. So the Dragonborn pounced onto the purple-haired swordswoman and slammed his massive PP into her waiting pages. Fully hilting inside of her and making her scream from the intrusion as her CNT was stretched out. Anko watched in envy, able to feel each move that hit Yugao. With her being so close, she began eating on Yugao's BRST, wanting to be part of the action and wanting to drive her over the edge so she'd CLMX faster and blackout. I didn't give you permission to do that, Anko. Naruto said with a firm look at the snake Kunoichi as he slammed his hips against Yugao. What good are you if you can't wait for your MSTR's orders? Naruto questioned with a harsh tone as he grabbed Yugao's BRST and pulled it from out of Anko's mouth. Harshly pulling it away while Yugao screamed even louder from her body being used like a toy by Naruto. Anko MMM as Naruto removed his hand from Yugao's melons before he clutched her hair harshly. Tugging it and making Anko look him in the eyes. When I'm done with Yugao, I'm going to ruin you and keep you as a bed warmer. Naruto said, seeing her eyes get hazy from pure lust. I might even knock you up and breed you like the where you are, he said as he felt Yugao tighten as he said that. I'll breed you too Yugao, he said as he spanked her peach. Would you like that? Being knocked up by a younger man with much more power than you'll ever hope to have? Naruto asked with a smirk. Yes MSTR, I love that I am so weak compared to you. You are a god and I am just a SLT that is meant to worship you. I will do whatever you ask and give you as many children as you longing. Yugao MMM out with utter lust dancing in her eyes all but popped out when Naruto fully penetrated her, reaching deeper than anyone had before. She felt him inside her WMB, unsure if he intended to knock her up. Ready for your new life as a breeding so? Naruto asked as he felt his PP throb ready to release. Anko panted in jealousy as she watched her friend about to be impregnated by the stud before them. She watched as Naruto grabbed Yugao's hips before fully inserting himself inside of her TWT. Watching as Yugao's eyes rolled up in the back of her head as Naruto dumped his load inside of her deepest depths. That was one load. Yugao thought, feeling stuffed, but more importantly, felt his still hard PP inside of her. No woman will be able to resist him, he's AF God, she thought before she MMM again as Naruto started to move again inside her. Uncaring that she was still sensitive from his recent load, every move made the seed inside her slosh around. I gotta make sure my breeding sow is fully bred right. So once I'm sure you're knocked up I'll do the same to Anko, Naruto told Yugao as he moved his hands to her jiggling, bouncing tips as he slammed inside of her. Understand SLT? Naruto asked Yugao with a smirk. Anko panted, even more turned on by Naruto's presence. DMN it, you are so F hot, she thought as Naruto was everything she wanted in a man and more, but it didn't matter as she was his B. If he wanted her he could take her, because at the end of the day she was his SEC SLV and nothing more. Yugao felt her stomach expand as Naruto released another load into her. My WMB is gonna burst, she thought as he was F her WMB with the purest intent on breeding her. Here you go Yugao. Have another load you be. Naruto grinned as he filled her up again before he pulled out his PP from her WMB and fired the remaining strands of juices all over her face and tips. Marking the swordswoman like she was his before she turned to look at the panting Anko. Your turn SLT. Spread your legs, Naruto ordered Anko firmly. Anko did as instructed, going as far to pull her ankles near her head, loving how flexible she was. Naruto rubbed the tip of his PP at her entrance and saw how many juices she leaked. You desperate where, he said, seeing her from the insult. Oh, you like me insulting you, huh? You're a pathetic SLT that now has one purpose, and that's taking the PP of your MSTR in whatever hole he desires, Naruto told her with a smirk before he slammed inside of Anko's pages, making the snake Kunoichi scream in pleasure as her TWT was stretched by his PP. OF. Anko screamed out as her eyes rolled up into her head and her tongue hung from her mouth. I wonder what I should do with you, Anko, such the loyal salty girl you are. Naruto said, whispering into her each, I know you're mine, but what to do with you, he said, as even before coming here he knew Anko was loyal to whatever she wanted, as after being betrayed by Orochimaru she respected loyalty above all else. Whatever you want from me. I'll do anything. I'll kill whoever you want, I'll STRP in the snow and use my holes to keep your PP warm as you walk through these lands. I'll do anything and everything MSTR. Anko screamed out in utter lust as Naruto condensed away at her CNT. Naruto smiled, admiring her dedication. A loyal SLT like you needs to be rewarded. Be my wife, he said, feeling her clench on his PP. Why yes. I'll marry you before whatever god you wish. Show me off as your possession if you wish. Brand my peach with your mark even. Anko cried out in pure joy as Naruto slammed against her hips. Heh. Good, then your first act as my new wife before Mara herself is to take my load. Naruto ordered as he hilted his PP inside of Anko's CNT and unloaded it inside of her. Anko screamed in pleasure and joy as she got the load, as deep down Naruto was fulfilling a wish she had for years. She wanted a family and someone dear and precious to her, and here he was giving it to her. She would be forever his for this kindness. His wife, his SLT, his SLV. Whatever he wished. One load down. Let's see how many you can take before you pass out, Anko. Naruto told her with a grin as he started to move into her again. Next day. Anko was shining like the morning sun from the afterglow of SEC. She and Yugao were parting ways with Naruto heading to Castle Fokihar. What did you do to them? Tayuya asked as she was called to help Naruto in their stead. She knew both women decently enough to know Yugao didn't smile and Anko wasn't happy unless there was bloodshed, yet both had peaceful smiles on their faces. I F their brains out after a job. Naruto said boredly. Still can't believe you didn't invite me. Tayuya said as she examined the weapons and some of the skill books they stole from the necromancers. I can do some serious damage with this, she said, as the necromancers were onto something with using the instruments for magic, as Orochimaru made the same discovery when he founded the Sound Village. He wanted a force that couldn't be defended against and that couldn't be touched or seen so easily. His research went to sound, so he collected certain people that could use wind or sonic vibrations as special skills or Kekkei Genkai. I need Pantia's flute to return it. However, there's an extra one in there. Naruto told her. Tayuya nodded in gratitude, as having this would help her out and give her a way to use something she was familiar with. I'll rent you another room at the inn for you to research in peace. In the meantime, I'm gonna try and sell a few things at the pawn shop here. Naruto told Tayuya. More like steal more women. Tayuya thought as she was not blind in giving his retreating figure one last glance. Burna's oddments. Naruto walked into the pawn shop to see 3 women inside. One of them he recognized as HAREM, the innkeeper's orange-haired Nord wife. The other 2 women, however, were a blonde Nord woman standing behind the counter and a white-haired Nord woman. I can't believe how loud those travelers were last night. They kept up my husband all night with their screaming, the white-haired Nord woman complained to her 2 fellow Nord. The man was clearly a Nord, and those women were very desperate. One of them was screaming to take it in her rear, the blonde Nord woman said. Naruto had to admit it was fun to leave the women hearing him F his girls hot and bothered. At least your husband didn't stare at those SLTs in envy. HAREM said with a scowl, remembering. Dear, we know your husband has a dagger in his pants and not a sword. He got drunk months ago and his pants fell. You're lucky you ever got PRGN once with how tiny he is, the blonde Nord said with a snort. HAREM blushed in shame as her husband was not very good in bed and merely stayed for their child, and the fact he often almost got himself killed with his drunken stunts, meaning this place would be hers. Dager's an idiot, but at least he's not as bad as your drunken lout of a brother Berna. How much of your profit did he spend getting drunk today? The white-haired woman said flatly. Oh, and your bigot of a husband is a catch, Thina? Harren asked with a glare, defending Berna, knowing Ranmir wasn't bad. Just a drunk. Ladies, we have company. Berna said. They all looked to Naruto as he entered. He didn't comment on anything, thinking best not to engage in a conversation about how they hated their husbands or their brother in Berna's case. Good day. I just came to see if I can sell a few things, Naruto said before he dropped a sack of gold ingots and jewels onto the counter. All the women stared at the contents in shock, as the shop rarely had anyone bring that much. I would love to purchase these, but I'm not sure the shop has the funds. We don't get that many travelers around here after all. That's alright. Naruto said as he was a bit more interested on what he could learn, as these women seemed knowledgeable. If you don't have the funds, then I wouldn't mind investing in this shop, in all honesty. Naruto offered. Burma perked up at that as her friends glared at her. In exchange, I'll spread word of this shop and Winterhold in general to drum up some business. After all, you all need it, given the College of Winterhold is the main reason people come here, Naruto said with a smile. TSK. The college. Those mages have nearly doomed us too many times and have ruined this hold. Thina scowled at the mere mention of the mages' college up the road. Are you sure about that, because it seems without the college you wouldn't get much business to begin with? Naruto said as people who attended the college often came to town despite the aggression between the two, and the college got an abundance of students, some lasting weeks. What business have they provided? Look at the hold. It's in ruins, Thina scowled. Pretty sure that's the harsh weather. Naruto said as this part of the world was mostly north, but if one went somewhere like Rift 10 it'd be similar to the Midwest. No, it's those mages. They cause it all, Thina scowled in anger. Regardless, do we have an accord? Naruto asked Berna as he gestured to the bag of valuables. Yes, we do. Berna said without much hesitation, knowing she needed the funds badly. Naruto traded the items, giving her a good deal, only getting 60% of their profit. Very good, now we should celebrate this partnership. Naruto said as he pulled out a large bottle of Black Briar Reserve. The women licked their lips as the mead was famous, and having the hard lives they did, they were all thirsty and wanted to enjoy the famously strong mead. And luckily I also brought enough glasses for everyone, Naruto said with a grin as he pulled out 4 glasses for the 4 of them to enjoy before setting them on the counter and pouring the mead. The 3 ladies immediately took their glasses and drank up. Few minutes later. And I thought Tsunade was a desperate drunk. Naruto thought, thinking of his blonde lover who often indulged in Maven's mead while looking at the 3 Nord women before him. All 3 pending down drink after drink after drink of mead. Whether it was for celebration or forgetting their troubles he wasn't sure, but the 3 Nord women had literally drank 4 bottles of Black Briar Reserve in the span of 15 minutes. He was just happy Maven could get him more of said reserve without issue. Unknown to Naruto, Maven put aphrodisiacs in the mead she had given him. The Black Briar ruler of Rift 10 always knew whomever he shared it with would later end in his bed. And considering the 3 Nord ladies had drank 4 bottles worth, each with its own spike of aphrodisiacs, the 3 were currently panting and shuddering as they tried to hold back on their desires. Alright ladies, I think you've had enough. Don't you? Naruto asked. He's right ladies, the mead is good, but I think it's time we drank the famous milk of the Dragonborn. Berna said with a grin as the Nord woman was licking her lips hungrily. The other 2 panted in agreement, mewling in lust, staring at a certain spot in Naruto's pants. Wow, so eager to cheat on your husbands, huh? Naruto asked Thina and Harren as they sidled up to him while Berna stepped out from behind the counter to join them. Who cares? Dager is pathetic and I want a real PP in me. Harren said, salivating at the thought of being stretched open by Naruto's massive B-breaker. You all need to understand some, FUS. Naruto said, using a low-level shout, sending the clothes they had off their bodies, ripping them to shreds. I don't let women IF go back to limp D fools. Once I've been inside of you, then you're mine. Till the end of time itself. I'll take you however, whenever, and wherever I please. Naruto said. All the women blushed, feeling the sheer truth of his words, and thought it'd be amazing to serve a man such as this. Your old life is gone after this. So kneel and swear yourselves to me. Once you do, there's no going back, Naruto ordered the three Nords firmly. We swear, the naked women said together, letting go of everything of their past lives, looking forward to their new lives serving the legend before them. Good. Then come and remove my armor from my body. Earn the prize you seek, Naruto ordered. The women were eager, removing his armor, and the moment they got him NDE, they stared at the weapon that was his PP. Good, now who should I start with? The Jarl's wife who needs her brains scrambled. Or maybe I'll F the pawnbroker that is now my SLV in all but name. Or maybe I'll take the MLF who just gave up her husband and daughter for the chance at my PP. Naruto asked with a smirk as his PP hardened before them. Drawing their gazes to the glorious dragon PP before them. F me, this shop holds no dear memories, I want to work in the place I became your woman. Burna exclaimed. Excellent answer. The door opened, revealing Tsunade. Hello MSTR, she said, seeing the glares she was getting from the women. They all hated her with passion for her looks, as she was a woman from the college. Welcome Tsunade. I take it you're here with news from the college? Naruto asked. More like information MSTR, I have been venturing deeper and deeper into the college and have been finding much information. Tsunade said as she was brimming with power. Naruto was inclined to believe her, as her magika was reaching new heights, almost to that of a Deidre, yet she still had her humanity. There are primal forces I have taken over from the things beneath the college, and after a discovery of a magic sphere, I was visited by the Subjugation order, I killed them. Tsunade said as those people were actually on par with her and Naruto. They had been developing ways to further magic and were able to have things that matched her and Naruto work. I see. Excellent work my pet. Naruto said with a smile. Tsunade smiled from her MSTR's praise, sharing with him the information she now owned from murdering the entire order. I have also become the Archmage MSTR, I am not yet head of the college, but soon it shall be yours, she said to him. I see. Tell me, are any of your students or teachers worthy of interest? Naruto asked. A dozen or so MSTR. Tsunade said as she saw much potential and those that were worthy of serving him. She smiled at the still kneeling women. 5 of them are women, meaning more slaves MSTR. Your appetite keeps growing, she said, licking her lips. And speaking of growing, I believe all that magic you took made your jugs a little bigger my pet, Naruto said with a smirk. Tsunade smiled as her tips did in fact grow more as a result of the powers from in and out of the college and the Subjugation order. Yes MSTR, I am once again your strongest bee, she said, loving that she was once again in a position of power. Oh, are you now? We'll have to see if that holds true later in a competition. But for now, why don't you join my newest wares here and get on your knees for me, Naruto told her. The women watched in amazement as Naruto ordered what was possibly the strongest woman in the land of Skyrim to kneel to him. Tsunade removed her clothing, revealing her NDE form to him, and got on her knees and crawled to him, taking his PP into her mouth, instantly. Her PP dripping as she did it. Like Tsunade here, I expect you SLTS to obey me no matter what. Understood? Naruto asked as he grabbed Tsunade by the back of her head and held her to his pages, making her GG and choke on the PP down her throat. Look at me SLTS, this is the position we all hold as his lovers, no matter what, we are meant to please him. Tsunade thought as her mind was getting hazy from lust. Now that you understand your new duties and laws, you will crawl towards me. All of you, Naruto ordered the 3 Nord women. The women crawled to him in pure longing. They got on his sides and kissed his PP as Tsunade blew him. His ball are so heavy was the shared thought of all the women, as the seed that would soon fill them would soon be milked. For where's on their knees before me? Life is so much better in Skyrim than anywhere else. Right Tsunade? Naruto asked as he pulled Tsunade's face off his PP. Yes MSTR, the women know their place and the weak men are often put in it. Tsunade said as it was amazing seeing Naruto work earning the women he stole and putting bigots in their place. She wished it was that easy in their former world. It would have truly been a sight then. Very good answer SLT. As a reward you get to choose which of these three wears IF first, Naruto told her with a grin. Tsunade smiled at their pleading faces. The mother, her tips are so ripe right now, she said, pinching Haren's NPL seeing her milk drip out. Excellent choice. Haren, hold your tips up to me. Naruto ordered. Haren did as told and feeling his PP slap her face as he squeezed her melons on his. You submitted so easily. What would your husband say? Or your daughter? What would they say seeing you act like a brain dead where? Naruto smirked. I don't care about my husband, I wish to be your woman my lord, and when my daughter is old enough I will give her the choice to be your woman. Haren said, panting lewdly. Good answer, Tsunade. Do you think I should breed her? My bees have been getting eager lately. Naruto said, pulling his fellow blonde close. Whatever you longing MSTR. Our bodies are for you to use. We will get PRGNT if that is what you wish. Tsunade spoke up reverently. I am marrying a few women Tsunade, and I'd like you to be amongst them. Naruto said as Tsunade was someone he loved and trusted, she was his in every way, and he wanted to repay her loyalty to him. Yes. I mean if that's what my MSTR wishes. Tsunade said with a bow, composing herself after her outburst. She as he pulled her into a kiss. I should break Shizun, she thought, thinking her assistant needed to know who she would have to serve truly and wholly from now on. Now Haren, back to you. Work those fun bags, Naruto ordered. Haren did as instructed, she as her face was slapped with each move. Good. Maybe we should change your name to Huran from now on, Naruto mused, looking down at the cheating wife jerking her tips over his PP. Haren blushed at the name. If that is what you wish MSTR, I shall bear any name you see fit to call me, she said, as it was a woman's duty in Skyrim to service and love their lover, even more so when said lover was the Dragonborn. Any order he gave was basically law to his lovers. Good, then your old life as Haren ends now. And your new life as Huran begins with a baptism, Naruto said, smirking as his PP throbbed in between her tips. Tsunade smiled in amusement, as this was one of the many things she loved when Naruto got new pets. He often put them in their place and made sure they understood perfectly where they stood. Yes MSTR. Huran is yours to use however you longing. Haren out in lust as she forsook her old name. Ready to embrace her new name and life. Naruto smirked down at the woman. Open your mouth Huran. Naruto ordered, using her new name. Get ready to take the first of many loads. Tsunade enjoyed the sight. He's a true Uzumaki, she thought, as Uzumaki were famous for their longevity, but in reality it was their SXL stamina. Able to mentally break their partners during SEC without much effort, but Naruto was a freak of nature even by Uzumaki standards. He was a spawn of 2S rank ninja and he was a Jinchuriki. His stamina was godly before, but after being here in this world, and with his strength growing to new heights, he was on par with higher beings when it came to section. This was proven when he unloaded his juices into Haren's awaiting mouth, which filled up to the point the Nord woman nearly choked. All while juices leaked down to her melons from her overflowing mouth. Naruto grabbed her hair and pulled himself out of her mouth and smiled, seeing her faint. She was twitching in lust and pleasure. He enjoyed how broken she seemed just from the few bits of pleasure he gave her. I think that's a new record for quickest broken wear. He chuckled at the broken Nord woman. She didn't even get F yet and was already out of it. Now then, who's next? Naruto asked as he looked at Thena and Berna as if they were prey, while dropping the fainting Haren unceremoniously to the floor. Berna screamed as Naruto pulled her into a kiss. She may not have been a mage, but she could sense it. The overwhelming power. The power that seemed almost godlike. Due to her being around the college, she could feel magic power around her. However, with Naruto she could tell one thing despite how overwhelmingly powerful it was. He was holding back. A lot. And she was feeling his hidden power in full force from just his presence alone. Train us MSTR, we are unworthy to be your women, make us stronger, we shall dash. Berna was saying till she felt Tsunade's sadistic smile on her. SLTS like you are unworthy of my MSTR's bite, his bite makes his women special. You are pieces of F meat for him at best. Tsunade said as all the members of his HRM knew a bite from Naruto was a gift, while a bite from them was a lesser gift, they could make others like them, but Naruto's bite offered more raw power compared to theirs. I shall bite you all as welcome, but remember that you are all still nothing, she said as she bit all of them, turning them onto hybrids like her but far weaker compared to the likes of Naruto or the women bitten by him. What are you three now? Naruto asked, seeing the changes appear as all three Nord women knelt before him in SBMSN. We are your humble servants, my lord, they all said in unison, feeling an incredible power within them, but looked to Tsunade and felt her words were true. Being bitten by her, a lover of Naruto, was not the same as being bitten by him. Tsunade watched as the three were soon F with vigor by Naruto. One more remains, she thought with a grin. 3 hours later. Tsunade smiled as the shop was christened with her MSTR's juices, the three Nords looking F in exhaustion. Their bodies splayed out and covered in juices. Shame we could not kill the men, she thought as the Jarl had leaked for his wife earlier, and using her vampire powers, she made him watch and be destroyed as Naruto claimed his wife as his own. Well, that was fun. I should get going though, Naruto said as he just finished spraying juices on Haren's tips. Before you go MSTR, I found some information that might be useful. Tsunade said, pressing her bust into him. Taiyuya is a BLD Uzumaki, she said as she was both surprised and not very surprised as the girl worked for Orochimaru, and given how he liked to collect rare bloodlines it was useful information. Oh. And that means what to me? That I have someone else to talk about the clan with? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. No, it means you have another woman that can help you with this. Tsunade said, rubbing his still hard member. Train her MSTR, her body was meant for an Uzumaki man like mine is, she said as it certainly would be fun for the Uzumaki clan to make a comeback in Skyrim now. From near extinction to thriving in the realm of Tamriel. Naruto grinned at this as he grabbed Tsunade by her tips and gave them a squeeze. Well put, SLT. Very well, I shall take your advice and train her myself. Naruto told her. Tsunade feeling her MSTR's powerful lust. With Taiyuya. So wanna make a deal? Mirai asked Taiyuya curiously as she appeared via an oblivion portal. How stupid do you think I am? Taiyuya asked as she heard about this lover of Naruto. She had been making deals with all of Naruto's lovers, the price well defined, so she got more. Incredibly stupid, Mirai said boredly. I mean, you worked for Orochimaru and the Shinigami tortured his as in death, she said as when she worked for him she saw how people who disrespected his domain got treated. F off, you scientific, Taiyuya glared, flipping off Mirai, and before she knew it she was on the floor clutching her neck in agony. We have no chakra here, just magicka, but you should fully know that curse mark is pure nature energy, not chakra, meaning someone like me can F with it. As easily as breathing, Mirai said, seeing her glare at her. Ah, but don't worry, I have an offer you can't refuse, she said happily. Just F say it, you be. Taiyuya glared before she held her neck again in more pain. Temper. I can make you a human Deidre hybrid. You can look human or you can take your curse mark form. That way the power isn't a curse anymore but actually useful, Mirai said to her, simply cut and dry. What's in it for you? Taiyuya said, still clutching the burning mark. See, smart girl, my price is a simple one. I am always making deals with MSTR's lovers because they want to get stronger to be of use to him. Some become Deidre or some become like that boss bee Tsunade and earn it themselves. Or some like my mother get lucky with extraordinary power from the get-go. Mirai said to her, I just want my MSTR happy, so swear your soul to me, Naruto, and Tsunade, she said as she smiled. I swear to no one. Taiyuya yelled before she grabbed her neck in more pain. You watch him F all his women when you are nearby, why do you resist? Mirai asked, seeing her blush. I won't be a tool. Not again. Ag. Taiyuya growled in pain. Oh sweetie, if you were a tool Naruto would have never given you so much freedom. Mirai said as she had seen how he treated his women, Naruto was always loving and honest with how he treated them. Now you have two options. Swear your fealty to him or you get to die in agony. Seems like an easy choice I feel. 'Cause if you die I'll bring you back as a ghostly bee for him to use anyways. You can serve him alive or dead. Your choice, Mirai said with a firm tone as she knew Tayuya wouldn't survive any more pain from her mark. Tayuya had been dead and it was not a pleasant experience. She enjoyed this new life she had, but Naruto scared her. He was a hero and somehow still more dangerous than Orochimaru could ever dream to be. She feared him having absolute control over her. Tick-tock Tayuya. In 5 seconds the pain will triple, Mirai said as her hands started to glow with red energy. 4-3-2 Mirai was saying but Tayuya cut her off. I give. I submit. Just stop the pain. Tayuya yelled. Mirai was happy as she saw the look of SBMSN in Tayuya, that B was right on the money. She thought as Tsunade asked her to do this to force Tayuya into SBMSN, the woman was no Naruto, but she'd serve her as long as she proved worthy. She used her magic and did as promised. Tayuya was now a human Deidara hybrid. Tayuya felt her new power and felt how incredible she now felt in her cursed form. This is amazing. I feel like I could curb stomp Kimimaro when he was healthy. She thought in awe as she flexed her cursed form and got a feel of her new strength. Thank you Mirai. Tsunade said walking in still very naked as she greeted the Deidara. It was for my MSTR. Mirai said not even acknowledging her. I'm your MSTR's top B. Tsunade reminded her. No, if I recall he said my mother was higher up than you. You have no power anymore. Mirai said boredly, her eyes widened as she felt a large wave of magic coming from Tsunade. This is way more than what I sensed earlier. She was holding out on me, she thought as Tsunade had an abundance of power. Your mother can't hold a candle to me. So watch your mouth be, Tsunade ordered with a glare. Tayuya watched this power struggle but she was silenced when Naruto walked in and locked eyes with her. She saw his orange eyes glowing predatory right at her. The question was silent, but she wanted that power and in a blink of an eye his fangs were in her neck. Tsunade halted her release of power as she felt Tayuya's form changing. The redhead's power increased with each passing second until in mere moments she was equal in power to her. Impossible. She shouldn't be anywhere near my level of power. Tsunade muttered. She's part Deidara now so it makes up for it. Mirai said as it was why she was her mother's equal despite the gap in strength. She vanished from sight, but wondered if it was more how strong of a potential the Uzumaki bloodline seemed to be. How do you feel Tayuya? Naruto asked after his fangs receded from her neck and let her adjust to her transformation. Absolutely incredible. Tayuya said letting out a breathy sending a look to Tsunade, both of them feeling the other's power and the Uzumaki blood they all had within them. Tsunade hated that someone was given power so easily by her MSTR, but could live with it as the woman was an Uzumaki like herself. Good now let's go. We have a long walk back to Solitude. Tsunade let me know if anything involving the college comes up, Naruto ordered. Both women were silent till they laid their eyes on their lord and tackled him. Naruto could smell how corny they were, so Uzumaki women, he thought as now he felt he had actual women in his HRM that could keep up. Not just pieces of meat or breeding slaves. You two could have just asked. Now you've scuffed up my armor, Naruto told them with a smirk, but I guess I can't blame you two fully. After all, why deny SLTS what they crave, right? He asked with a smirk as he used his magic to remove his armor before shoving his PP up Tayuya's peach. Tayuya screamed as her peach was suddenly breached by, being a Deidara is a blessing, she thought as she was a virgin in every way, yet her peach swallowed up Naruto's PP like it was made for it. You two are such easy wares. Not even 5 seconds and already you're riding my pages. Naruto mocked as he reached his hand and grabbed at Tsunade's tips, bringing one to his mouth for him to and bite. Tsunade as she loved the attention her sensitive chest got. She blushed at how Naruto always manhandled them as a further reminder that he owned her. Tayuya feeling Naruto slide his fingers into her PP, already giving into his touch, feeling her PP gush as he hit her sensitive spots. All while his PP stretched open her peach in ways she had never felt before. DMN, your peach is tight, Naruto grunted before he sent his free hand in a slap at Tayuya's rump, making the redhead squeal as his palm assaulted her peach over and over again, reddening her peach like her hair. Tayuya screamed in lust and her cries got louder as Naruto grabbed her horns, using them like handlebars, pulling her to him with more aggression. I love these horns of yours, Naruto grinned at the redhead. I'm actually at a loss which I like better, your horns to use as handles or Tsunade's giant jugs, Naruto admitted before he bit Tsunade's NPL. Both women being used by their MSTR, glad he found them desirable, fueling their longing to please him more. Hell, you two SLTS really know how to drive me crazy. Naruto grunted out as his teeth nibbled on Tsunade's NPL. We'll do this for you forever, MSTR. Tsunade thought, as no matter what she'd please Naruto as he was her MSTR and she wanted to give him everything. Whenever and wherever you longing us. We are tools for your pleasure. Tsunade out. What other people think, MSTR, you are a god, the Daedra are nothing to you. You are the last dragon born for a reason, no one can match you. Else has claim over the world but you. Not the dragons, not the Daedras, not the Edra. You will have the sole claim of the realm. Tayuya exclaimed in utter lust as to her Naruto was without equal. Well said, my pet, Naruto grinned before he shoved his PP fully inside of her peach. So well said, you deserve a reward. So enjoy it. Naruto exclaimed as he fired his load deep in Tayuya's peach. Tayuya felt as if she could taste the SPRM filling her rectum. I should have been down on my knees for this man, she thought as his PP was insane, her body was being reshaped to pleasure only his PP, she would have to thank Mirai after she F'd the SHT out of her for being AB. After he finished unloading inside of her, Naruto pulled his PP from her peach and stood up before he turned to Tsunade. Your turn. Spread your legs. He ordered. Tsunade was having similar thoughts to Tayuya as she wanted to establish dems over the women that Naruto was taking as his wives. I shall be the first, she thought as she didn't care about the High Queen or Anko or any other woman in her way, she would be first to wed Naruto, she'd be his first everything from this point onwards. So lost in her daydreams that she failed to heed Naruto's orders. So she felt his PP slap into her cheek and send her to the floor. Are you deaf? Where? Naruto questioned with a firm tone. Tsunade blushed and spread herself, she brought her hands to her knees and spread herself wide for her MSTR. Good girl. Naruto smirked down at her before he speared himself inside of her CNT. Impaling the busty blonde on his PP, making the Senju woman scream to the very heavens. Tsunade at the familiar sensation of her MSTR breaching her WMB, I want his child. We'll give him blonde and red Uzumaki children, she thought, looking to Tayuya as both would give Naruto superior children, being the only BLD Uzumaki women amongst his many Bs. Shake those tips, Tsunade. Put on a show for your MSTR, Naruto ordered with a grin as he slapped Tsunade's melons. Tsunade placed both hands on her melons and shook her massive milk glands violently. Tayuya smiled as while Tsunade was distracted she sat on her and looked Naruto dead in the eye and blushed, seeing even now she was still prey to him, she as. He pulled her into a heated kiss, dominating her mouth. You two are so hot that you're gonna get a little gift from me. I'm gonna give you both my full power as I F you two into mind-broken messes, Naruto grinned. Both women felt a twinge of mental terror, he's been holding back. They thought in panic, wondering how a man who F armies of women every night could have possibly been holding back. Their answer was given as Naruto's magic aura enveloped him as his strength and speed suddenly doubled as he continued pinning Tsunade's CNT. Rapidly slamming his hips against hers. Oh F. Tsunade yelled in shock at the sudden roughness while Tayuya watched in stunned silence. I'm a bit disappointed you're losing it already, Tsunade. That's just one spell. Imagine if I still had my clones. Oh well, maybe I can recreate them down the line. Naruto mused. Tayuya forced her peach onto Tsunade's face to muffle and silence the screams. Getting into it now, Tayuya? Naruto questioned with a smirk. It was that or break MSTR. Tayuya said as she saw what happened to the girls that became useless messes. She wanted to be his bee, but she'd do it with her mind intact. Heh. Very well, but let's see if you don't break after I'm done painting Tsunade's insides white. After all, you still have 2 holes I haven't tried out yet. Naruto told her with a smirk. Tayuya felt her siente gush and her mouth get dry at the thought of Naruto's milk filling them. Now do me a favor and leak over to me. I want to see Tsunade's face, Naruto ordered the redhead with a smirk. Tayuya slowly got her rear off Tsunade's face only for the room to be assaulted with Tsunade's screams. Oh God! It's too much! Tsunade yelled in utter craze as Naruto's strength and speed overwhelmed her body. Get used to it, Tsunade, this is the price of being my wife and to claim you are my top B. Naruto said teasingly as he was going to love Tsunade, but in bed he would destroy her completely and utterly. Unless you want to give up said position. I'm sure Kurenai or Shizun would love to take that title. Naruto mocked her. Tsunade blushed in both embarrassment and rage. I'll be the only one to fill this position, she said as she felt her holes would forever and always be sore from this day forward. We'll see. Shall we pick things up a notch? Naruto asked as his hand started to spark with small amounts of lightning before he pawed at her tips, sending small shocks of lightning into her body as he grabbed the massive milkers. Tsunade's screams went up an octave while Tayuya watched this in utter surprise. Not expecting to see lightning magic get involved in the F session. I kept track of your research in restoration, Tsunade. Using lighting as a new branch was impressive. Naruto said as Tsunade was upset when she learned her field got no respect. He learned she devised ways of healing, some old some new, and some using magical elements as ways to treat certain things. Lightning was increasing her sensitivity, driving the already pleasure-crazed woman even more to the edge. Don't worry, Tayuya, I have a better idea planned for you involving that flute of yours. Naruto grinned at the redhead seeing her worried look. Tayuya blushed knowing there were many SXL flute jokes and practically all of them were true. Now then, let's let my second load out. Naruto grinned at Tsunade before he flooded her WMB with his juices. Tsunade felt her eyes roll up as she took an explosive amount of seed into her, thinking this would definitely be the load to knock her up. She felt her well-toned stomach expand with each passing second. SHT, he might just kill me. Tayuya thought, not confident enough to think she'd withstand Naruto's full force, especially with this being her first night with the blonde. Almost wished that be made me a full Deidre, she thought, thinking it would take a special kind of being to survive a night with Naruto, even one he himself has bitten. 2 loads down. Let's see if the record of most unloads breaks. The record is 15. Naruto said as he pulled out of Tsunade before he leaped onto Tayuya. Who the F survived 15 DMN loads, was the last thought Tayuya had before Naruto moved into her. The next day, Naruto booted open the door and dragged a passed-out Tayuya by her hair outside. See you later, Tsunade, Naruto said with a chuckle back inside the building. Naruto stopped as he noticed someone drinking at the bar. The hell, he thought as the man was dressed as a weird-looking priest, Hermaus Mora. He thought as the outfit seemed like that of a fusion between dragon and that particular Deidre. Your power grows, Zima, the man said to him, the last word in the dragon's tongue. No way is this peach human. Naruto thought to himself as only few like the Greybeards could still speak it. You caught me at a disadvantage, he said as he was literally naked. He snapped his fingers and magic surrounded him now in ebony armor. So what does a man trapped between life and death want with me? He asked as this man was neither living nor dead. I wish to see what the so-called Dragonborn was like with my own eyes. I must say I'm unimpressed. The man stated in a bored tone, you haven't answered my invitation, he said to him. So you're Miraak. Naruto said as now he remembered the cultists he fought in his early arrival here. And here I was worried your parading with these feeble harlots had ruined your mind, Miraak said in response. You are low on my to-do list. Naruto said as he could sense it, This man had powerful words with him and the armor seemed to resonate with power. Ah yes, tell me, how does your quest to defeat Alduin go? Oh right, you've achieved nothing because you prefer to mate with pathetic women. You don't even know enough shouts to be a threat to him, let alone me, Miraak stated. Really need to wake Tsunade up. Naruto thought as he had Tsunade working on word walls and their locations with his other lovers, they were all mapped out from what they could all find. He didn't see the need as no enemies or the dragons he slayed elder, BLD, or regular weren't impossible to slay, but against another dragonborn one who had his own powers enhanced made him feel he needed all the word walls. When you wish to actually do your so-called duty, come to Solstheim, whelp. We will see which of us truly rules the skies. Until then though, enjoy rutting with feeble weakling women and wasting your time pretending at a throne you gained for betting a weak queen. Miraak said before he vanished. Naruto glared at the spot he vanished. Nothing about him is natural, everything he is has been corrupt, he thought as he saw the sword at the man's hip, a piece of a Daedra. He thought as that sword was a living tentacle he had heard of that inhabited Hermaus Mora's domain. The green and black liquid that was alive and attacked ones that got too close to it. Naruto pulled Taiyuya back inside of the building to wake her and Tsunade. He'd need to go hunt some words down. And fast. Ship. Naruto enjoyed the subtle rocking of the large ship as he, Mei, Tsum, and Aela were going with him to deal with Miraak on Solstheim. Located in Morrowind. The first and the last. Naruto thought, chuckling, as this was once again the battle between the old generation and the next, but he knew that if he was indeed the first Dovahkian then he had much time to himself, as the Dova were old, possibly as old if not older than Alduin. Assuming that was even possible. Mei was in a bit of a trance as she felt her magicka was stronger in this ash-filled environment. Tsum and Aela meanwhile felt tense. Their animal instincts making them feel that something was not right as they drew closer and closer to the port of Raven Rock. Naruto saw his more werewolf lovers as while they were hybrids like him they were still werewolves before he turned them, so it made them more naturally in tune with that side of them, and he did his research. This place had a particular set of were creatures they were unused to, and there was a difference between the wolves from home. We've arrived, the captain of the ship told Naruto as the large ship docked. Naruto and his group stepped outside and felt it immediately. Ash filled the very air and filled their lungs immediately. It was a small and subtle burning feeling, but manageable. Vampires would hate it here. Naruto thought as this air was basically fire, vampires would have a tough time here. As he looked around the frontier town, he saw a Dunmare man in fine clothing approach him and his team on the docks. You four there. I don't recognize you, so I assume this is your first time at Raven Rock. State your intentions, the man ordered. Relax. We're just here looking for someone named Miraak, Naruto said placatingly, feeling that this man was a higher up or noble or something for the town. Best not to cause problems if they could help it for now. Miraak? That name sounds familiar. Yet I'm not sure why, the man said, confused on why that name sounds familiar at all. So you know him then? Tsum asked with a quirked eyebrow, trying to gauge this man's knowledge. I am unsure. I swear I know the name yet I can't place it, the man said, confused. Can you tell us anything? Aela asked, wondering what is wrong with this place. The name. I believe it has something to do with the Earth Stone. But I'm not sure what, the man said. Naruto was looking around and saw people working on the bee. What's going on over there? He asked as he saw the people's movements, and even here they looked sluggish and slow. I didn't remember, the man said to them. Naruto, it's like this entire place is suffering from genjutsu fatigue. Tsum said as all these people looked as if they had been under the influence of one. I see. Thank you for your time, sir. Naruto told the man before he and his group walked over towards the people on the bee working mindlessly. Okay, so we have people who are clearly under some control and no possible way of breaking them out until we get more information. And to top it off, Miraak is clearly involved as the one pulling their strings. Ladies, we're gonna have a lot of work to do it seems, he said seriously, as this place looks like it would be problems from all sides. Orders Alpha. Aela asked her lover and lord. For now stick with me as we investigate. There's far too many unknowns for us to split up. For now we'll try and find someone with any knowledge of Miraak that isn't indoctrinated, Naruto ordered. They went around and so far nothing, but something caught their eyes. Dragons. Naruto thought as the dragons far in the sky seemed odd for some reason as they seemed to be circling specific locations, where better to look for a Dovahkiin. He thought going to the closest one and on the way spotted another stone pillar being worked on by mostly Nords and some very small, blue beings that seemed almost primal or savage. Those dragons are our best lead and I think they're circling the ruins of a temple. Naruto said as he caught the sight of a large ruin. Few minutes later. You sensed them too. Naruto said as he saw more of those masked cultists. Is there any way to free them from Miraak's control? Mei asked as Naruto was also a dragonborn so it was possible. Perhaps. But I would need the knowledge to do so. And if I'm correct, it's inside that temple. Naruto said to her. Can I ask something? Mei asked getting a nod. You have sent the others to collect words from stones, but how is the word able to transfer? She asked him curiously, before catching a dagger. This is dragon bone, she said in confusion. Words aren't easy to remove from tablets as they have a piece of a dragon's soul in them. I made it so the parts left behind by dragons can be used as containers. That dagger there is capable of holding a word from which I can absorb it, Naruto said as words on word walls were meant for dragons so he found a way around that little fact with the bones he reforged to be containers. Amazing. You turned words of power into a capturable essence like souls and soul gems. Mei said astonished as it was essentially tricking the word walls. Thank you my dear, now we should investigate the temple. Soon. Naruto said before he caught sight of a blonde Nordic woman wearing Nordic-styled armor holding a large green-colored battle-axe outside the temple. She's immune, he thought to himself as she didn't walk like the people or the cultists. Come ladies. I have a lead it seems. Naruto ordered her to follow as they approached the woman who seemed to be trying to plead with several other Nords rebuilding the temple to stop their work. Her words fell on deaf ears as they ignored her pleas and continued to work. The Nord woman suddenly turned around and pulled off her battle axe as she heard footsteps approach to see Naruto, Mei, Tsum, and Aela. You there? What brings you to this place? Why are you here? The blonde Nord woman asked on edge. Relax my dear. We mean no harm to you. We came to investigate the temple and try and figure out what is going on with all the people being controlled. Now would you be so kind as to tell me your name? Naruto asked with a smile. I am free of the skull. I am here to free my people or avenge them, the woman responded after a moment seeing as they weren't threats to her. Well met. I am Naruto Namikaze with me are Mei Terumi, Tsum Inuzuka, and Aela the Huntress, Naruto introduced. Free looked at them and saw by their appearance they were warriors and strong ones to resist whatever was affecting her people. Tell me, do you know the cause of this? Or any information that could be helpful? Naruto asked her. I am unsure. Something has taken control of most of the people on Solstheim. It makes them forget themselves, and work on these horrible creations that corrupt the stones, the very land itself. My father Storn, our shaman, says Miraak has returned to Solstheim, but that is impossible. Free explained. I see. Then it appears we have a common enemy. Miraak tried to have me killed amongst other transgressions. Naruto told her. Then we have reason to see what lies beneath. I can do nothing to aid my people for now. So we must find a way inside of the temple. Free said as she stowed her axe onto her back. Do you know anything about Miraak? Anything that can help us? Mei asked curious to see if she knew anything more than the other people they asked. Free began explaining to them bits and pieces as they made it inside. This place is old. Naruto thought as it was older than the crypts he had been to and yet it was well preserved. Guess screwing over a Deidre has its perks, he thought assuming Miraak was doing this to steal Hermau's Mora's power and place as a Deidre. As the group looked around, two cultists of Miraak leapt from the shadows at the group with daggers raised for a sneak attack. Unfortunately for them, Naruto quickly grabbed them from the air by their throats and slammed them spine first into the floor of the temple. Good try, you get an A for effort. But that's not enough to spare you, Naruto said before he squeezed their necks and a sickening crunch was heard. Aren't they being controlled? I'm surprised you're willing to kill them after learning that. Some said. They may be controlled, but Miraak has done something to their souls, it's like not enough of them is left in there to save. Naruto said as it was as if they had succumbed to his will to the point they were in fact pawns for the man to control. Free didn't want to say anything, but he was speaking the truth. She had made small slices earlier, but each of them seemed to ignore pain as if they were the undead. The group continued on to a large chamber with several cages hanging from the ceiling over the center of the chamber. I do not wish to imagine the kinds of things that happened in this chamber. Who were these poor souls trapped in these cages? What tortures did they suffer at Miraak's hands? Was it in service to the dragons, or for his own purposes? Free asked as they gazed upon the large chamber. There's a higher balcony up above Alpha. The stairs are knocked out, but there's most likely a way to get up there given every other tomb or cave we've explored, Sum said surveying the room. As the small group surveyed the room, 2 sarcophagi in the room opened up revealing Draugr. The Draugr RSN at the group axes drawn when Free swung her axe into one, cleaving it in twain. Meanwhile May blasted the other one with a fire bolt, sending it skidding across the floor as it burned away to ash. As the Draugr were killed, Naruto noticed a diagonal beam leading to the roof. Naruto leaped onto the beam and walked along it before leaping onto the balcony and finding a throne and a chest. Let's see what's in here, Naruto said as he kicked open the chest. Alright, let's see. 3 greater healing potions, a pair of ebony boots, 5 Daedra hearts, and an ebony bow of soul trap, Naruto said as he. For cultists they are well stocked, May said as it was honestly impressive. Yeah, Miraak might have some kinda sick ideas when he gets back onto this plane, Naruto said as Daedra hearts could be used in any number of ways. From alchemy to blacksmithing. It was very rare and versatile. And the fact he had 5 in a random chest spoke volumes. It was enough for a full set of Daedric armor and a weapon or shield on top of that. We should continue on then and stop him. There's a pit below, Free said pointing to a descending staircase. 20 minutes later. This is Daedra flesh, Naruto thought as he saw the book he unlocked in the chamber. It was sick, and while no longer a sage he could still feel the corrupted touch from this book. Something feels off with that book, Aela admitted as just seeing it sent a shiver down her spine. It feels worse than the word wall you discovered in here with literal dragon corpses hanging from it, Sum said as she also felt her spine stiffen. Ah yes, dragon aspect. That was at least a lucky find here. But something tells me this will be our most important discovery, Naruto said. Naruto knew it was basically going against the rules of shinobi to play an enemy's game, on their terms, and on their battlefield. But they were out of options and possibly time. If they didn't deal with Miraak soon, he'd become a worse threat than possibly Alduin. Naruto opened the black book with the title, Waking Dreams, when he did a green energy seep from the book enshrouding him as the 4 women looked on as he was transported somewhere. This place, Naruto said as he recognized the feeling of a Daedra, and this was a dimension he was sure only one Daedra could make. Before he could loom around, he was suddenly forced to his knees by a pressure. So the new Dragonborn sets foot in my domain, Miraak said as he walked towards Naruto. You dare set foot in here, and yet you have done little beyond slaying a few dragons, Miraak told him. Congratulations. You leech off a Daedric prince because you're too scared to die, Naruto scoffed. Leech please, I am slowly killing him. I shall take his place and reach a new height of power, and with the blessing of Akatosh the people of Solstheim will bring their true lord back to Nirn to rule over them all, Miraak told the Dragonborn. You rule over all of Nirn? Setting your sights really low there. Hey, why don't you go try and take Shiagaratha's domain instead, seeing as you're already a crazed fool, Naruto mocked. Impudent. Well, Mol ka devi. Miraak shouted, covering himself in dragon aspect's armor. The dragonborn faced off, both feeling the other's power. If he becomes a Daedra, I will be put at a disadvantage. Naruto thought, as he wasn't dumb, as he had many Daedra lovers and had a good fraction of their power, but Miraak had been doing this for centuries. If his plan succeeded, he'd be in a difficult position. Enough of this. I have other plans to attend to. You can await my arrival with the rest of Tamriel. Use the time you have left to fornicate with your beloved Wers you seem to have an attachment to. For once I am free, you will die. Miraak said as he knocked Naruto to the ground with a shoulder tackle. Oh, I'm gonna enjoy killing him. Naruto thought, as this was going to end painfully for him. Begone back to Nern, Miraak said as the green miasma surrounded Naruto and made him disappear. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 7. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.